Can you
So-
say the question first?
A basic, typical kind of day tutoring would be, you come in, first day you're going to come in and the secretary's going to call me and I'll come over and I'll show you where my office is in case you need to leave things in there. And then I'll take you and show you a quick tour of the school. It's really only 2 floors. And then I'll take you to the room and introduce you to the teacher. After that, then you're going to talk with that teacher. That teacher's going to explain what they want you, what he or she wants you to do. It's going to be that you're either going to work in a small group with 3, 4, maybe 5 kids at the most on a concept that they need help with, or taking them to another level, or it could be that the teacher has given the kids some kind of an assessment and the kids need help with some of the questions they got wrong, so you're going to go back now and help them figure out how to do those. So it could be remediation, or it could be differentiating for some kids who they already understand the concept. The teacher's going to work with the kids who need help, and you're going to take some that are beyond and you're going to do something else with them.
Oh, okay.
The teacher could also give you just one-on-one. They could say, today I just want you to work with Johnny, and with Johnny I want you to go over some of the different representations of multiplication. And the teacher's going to give you the information that you need. They're not going to just send you in there.
Right.
But you're also welcome to say, hey, I already know those, and let them know what you know.
Okay.
It's also possible that a teacher could have you come in one day and say, hey, I'm just going to teach whole class today. We're not doing groups. So I just want you to kind of walk around the room while I'm teaching and see if kids have questions or they need help with something. You will get to recognize the kids who are not really into it. They're like staring off into space.
Like
or they have this
ADD
confused look. You go over to them like, hey, how's it going? Do you understand what's going on? Just quietly. It could be something like that.
Is there like, I know when I went to school, I'm not judging or anything like that. I'm just asking.
Yes.
This is just a question. Are there some kids with needing of special accommodations?
There
It's
absolutely
just a question.
are.
It's just a question.
Crosby is a very diverse population of students. We have, I believe it's 3 or 4 what are designated as behavior classrooms in our school.
Okay.
So those are kids who don't necessarily have academic disabilities,
Okay.
but they have some sort of emotional disability.
Okay.
Most of what it comes down to is they have an issue with executive function. Executive function is that little voice in our heads that when we're driving down the road and a guy cuts us off,
Yeah.
keeps us from pulling over and beating him up.
Okay.
It tells you that's not okay.
Right.
A lot of kids, though, and adults, have issues with executive function that don't stop them. It doesn't hinder that.
That's
So some of these kids blurt out. If they have a question, they won't raise their hand. If they got to go to the bathroom, they just walk out of the room. Things like that.
Okay.
Then there's also students with disabilities. We have some classrooms that have students with disabilities that are academic. And those kids, a lot of times, will push into the regular education classrooms.
Mainstream?
Because they're mainstreaming.
Yeah.
And so those students would be in the classroom and might need additional help. Sometimes those students come in and they're fine and they don't need any help. It just depends on the student and on the concept that they're being presented.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
She was talking about we can do maybe like a presentation about my physics class during the robotics club.
That's going to be up to
The robotics after-school program and the microbiology after-school program is run by the BCC students. So there is some freedom for the BCC students to develop lessons that they would like to teach to the students. There is also a curriculum. If the robotics micro students choose to follow the curriculum, you can, but there is room to add your own lesson as it applies more directly to your BCC class.
Yeah, and one of the things that has been done in the past, and that I used to do with my competition team, just to get them used to the programming, is we would do a lesson on friction. And so we would make a ramp, and I had 2 ramps. I had one that was just wood, and they had carpet on it. And then you would have the kids build a robot, and you would tell them what you're going to have them do, and then you would give them, everybody's going to have to tow this up the ramp, this object. So you talk to them about that, that's what they're going to have to do, and they have to program and build a robot so that it works efficiently at getting that up the ramp, and they have to go up both ramps. So a lot of the kids will then start trying to make their vehicle have 2 motors to run the wheels instead of 1, or they'll make it 4-wheel drive and they'll use all 3 motors, a lot of different things. And so then they get an idea of how friction affects and how the slope affects the different, and then you'll lower the slope or raise the slope, you can change out the friction. That kind of stuff's really fun for the kids. Challenges where they have to use the different sensors. You can set up stuff so that there's a big black line, and and you need to try to make your robot get from this side to that side as fast as possible. And it can't go too far. So then ideally they use the light sensor, so the light sensor follows the line and stops at the end, but they can program it however they want. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do with the Lego Mindstorms.
Brendan,
Yes.
could you talk a little bit about what it's like to work in the after-school environment?
So after-school environment is a little bit different than the day in that the kids that are in the after-school program is going to have smaller classrooms and they're going to be mixed up. There might be in your robotics multiple grade levels instead of just one. You might have 3, 4, and 5 in the same class. There probably won't be any second graders in the robotics. I think it's only 3, 4, 5. It might be only 4 or 5 even. And the kids that are in the after school are there doing what's called enrichment. So they're getting extra help. A lot of times they're the kids who might struggle a little bit during the day. It doesn't mean that there won't be some of the kids who are at the top of the class, but more of the kids are going to be a little bit lower. So they're hoping, the staff is hoping that them doing this enrichment is helping them gain some more knowledge that's going to apply to the classroom. So as much as you can take that after school activity and apply it to what their regular concepts are going to be, like try to get that math in there and talk to them about using complete sentences when they're explaining things. Kids are really bad these days with, you ask them a question and there's a lot of assumption that happens. They read a story and then you ask them to explain it and they're like, well he went here and did this, and you're like, well who's he? Well, don't you know? You read the book? Yeah, but you got to tell me and you got to use the name. So getting them to speak in complete sentences when they're explaining things. And in that robotics, you're going to want to ask them too, okay, you guys did this experiment, tell us what you observed. And, oh, well, it went here and it went, well, what's it? So having them really use that language as much as possible. And that's really true for the mathematics tutoring as well that you're going to do, or even the English language arts tutoring. Getting them to use that academic language as much as possible. The more you use it, the more it comes natural. So like, I don't want to pick on you, but I'm going to. Saying you're going to multiply the tops and then multiply the bottoms, we would redirect those students to say, that's excellent, you are going to multiply the tops. What are those called? And if they can't remember, then you help lead them to that. I even sometimes go as far as trying, I'd say it's not spoon feeding even though it is. Okay, you can't remember where it starts with a noom and it ends with an orator. You get them as far as you can without actually giving them the answer. So you're guiding them to that point of gaining that knowledge for themselves. Other questions?
Are the kids there as a requirement or because
No.
they want to?
They want to be there for the most part. Sometimes they're there not as a requirement from the school, but as a requirement from their parents. So their parents can say, you're going, and the kid doesn't want to. So not every student who's going to be there really wants to be there, but for robotics, it is usually that. The kids want to be there. There's other enrichments after school too. There's like a gaming club, and there's theater, and there's cooking classes, and there's gardening. So
But that
all
makes
of these
them
things.
different when they're there because they have to and they
Absolutely. Yes, there's also like a homework club. Most of those kids don't want to be there. Although they probably are thankful for it the next day when their homework's already done, or then at night when they get home when it's already done.
Another robotics question. Do you have ideas or suggestions for how to engage the small groups of students? Because we'll have 20 students in the robotics program and probably only one computer for a group of 4 or 5 students.
I have given the BCC students access to more computers, I believe. So
Okay.
maybe they only have one. I don't know, but I thought I gave them more computers to use. But
We're planning to come with 4 or 5, so there'll be-
computers, yeah, you would
And
want to
robots.
have multiple because otherwise only one person can program at a time. You need multiple computers to have multiple people programming. So my suggestion would be is if you're lacking in computers, you try to give students building tasks while other students are doing programming tasks so that they have something that keeps them occupied. Because the more they're sitting around waiting for others, the more likely they are to have naughty behavior.
Oh, maybe they could do, just had a brainstorm from your 6 levels and knowing you could recreate Mindstorm pictorially and come in with like a board game and have the little modules for each
They could program
steps.
concretely on paper prior to going in, like write down what you think your programming is going to be. So the programming is literally creating cells that tell a motor what to do. So they could draw out, this cell is gonna tell motor 2 to turn left 20 degrees, stuff like that. So then they'd have it all ready, and then when they put their program in, they're a step ahead of the game. So you could have them program on paper before they program it. Because it's literally telling this motor to do this motor to do this, to stop, to go, to turn, whatever it is. Yeah, the robotics was fun. I got slightly discouraged when the kids just wanted to play with the Legos.
Well, I was just wondering, is it an effective way they're learning? Is it help them to be educated more?
The robotics?
Is it
Yes, if they again
Yeah.
can get that enthusiasm for the learning piece of it.
Mhm.
If their goal is to play with Legos, they're probably not going to learn a lot from it unless you can help shift that goal toward actually learning something in
Oh.
the process.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's really a matter of getting them in the right mindset.
Uh-huh.
Being a teacher is really like being a thespian. You're putting on a play. You're doing a show.
Mhm.
Dinner theater without the dinner.
What are some suggestions for when the students interrupt the show and try to steal the show from the tutor or the teacher?
It's different for every student, but the most effective method is trying to redirect that student toward a positive behavior that is different from the negative behavior. So if they're calling out, the first thing you want to do is try to talk to them outside of, not call them out in front of everybody and be like, hey, so-and-so, what's going on? Try to be, hey, come over here, can we talk for just a second? And discuss the situation for them, because hopefully if they can see your point of view, listen, I'm trying to get everybody to understand here, and you're answering every single question. That's awesome that you know the answers, but you gotta let somebody else answer too. That kind of stuff. Hopefully you can get them on the same page you're on, so that they're like, okay, I need your help with this. That's awesome, you know all the answers. So I need you to help me let other people answer, or have other people feel encouraged, because they all see you raising your hand, so nobody's raising their hand. So I need other people to show me that they know. It really comes down to case-by-case basis. As much as possible, you gotta try to figure out what you think is gonna get through to that student. So it really comes down to like your interpersonal skills. How good are you at analyzing what that kid's doing and figuring out how you can counteract it effectively and without them really knowing.
Yeah.
The kids that are going to the robotics class, do they have any class about it, like
No.
just an introduction or anything?
No. Some of them might have done robotics after school activities previous years, so you will have some students who are already like ahead of the game, but none of them learn, none of the teachers in the school. I'm the only person in the whole school who knows anything about the robotic, about that.
Are you going to be there?
I will not.
No?
There will also be students from Stearns Elementary School who have already been through their after-school robotics program. So the Stearns students might have a stronger grasp on the program and be more advanced. And some of the Crosby students have been with us for a couple years. They've done the robotics program multiple times. So you might have students that have already seen
And then
CCC
I'll
students.
still be at the school when you guys are getting there, so if you do have questions, you can ask me when you see me there, but then before that starts, I leave before the program starts. Other questions? This is great, this is the most questions we've had.
So
You guys all feel-
basically, it sounds like that when our first day is just gonna be like getting used to the students, basically.
Well, it
No.
depends.
I mean-
Depends on the teacher you have.
That depends on
The
the
teacher
teacher.
might throw you
Yeah.
right in there and be like, all right, help these two kids do
Oh.
this.
Okay, it depends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
depends on whose class that I put you in.
right, okay. All right.
I just have a question about my, so the fingerprinting and the core is two different things?
Fingerprinting is not required for you guys.
So what's?
We were told that it was. We came to your class and told you you needed to do fingerprinting, right? Mary found out after the fact you don't have to anymore.
So what's a core exactly?
A Corey check is a criminal offender record information. So they're checking to see if you have any convictions in Massachusetts, criminal convictions.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to do two of them, one here and one at Crosby?
Correct. That's the way Corey's work. They're individual for each different company or whatever it is. each different organization. So you have to do one for BCC and you have to do one for Pittsfield Public Schools.
And I have to make an appointment, or can I just do
For
that?
the Cory check, no, you just come to the school, or the administrative building for the district on First Street, or go there.
And does
Just
it
come
have
to
be-
the school. No,
Oh.
you just go to the school. The secretary just gets your ID, takes a picture.
Yeah,
or
he's right,
photograph.
I had to do it, yeah.
They photocopy your ID, have you fill out
Right.
some paperwork, and that's
That's
it.
it, yeah, it's,
It's a really simple process.
And the one here, could I like do that today?
You gotta ask Mary.
No, the woman that does them, one is here till 3 o'clock, and then there's another that might be here till 5.